So what do we mean by social justice? Well, a society that ensures what we call social justice respects the dignity and rights of the person, the human person, as the proper end of society. And a society pursues and establishes social justice when it provides conditions that allow associations and individuals to obtain what is their due. According to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, God's plan wills that each person receives what he needs from others, and that those endowed with particular talents share the benefits with those who need them. In other words, the goods of this world are here for everyone to have, to use, to receive according to their need. Those of us who have more time, talent, money, material resources are obligated to share these things with people that don't have enough to even to survive. People who do not have enough food. If we have too much food, we ought to give at least donations, if not actual food and time and so forth, to help these people to have proper nutrition so that they can have one of the most basic needs of life. There are people who legitimately work hard, who try, and who still can't support themselves or their families. It is the obligation of others to help them. It's the obligation of the state to see that this happens. Also, according to the Catechism, excessive economic and social disparity between individuals and peoples is against social justice, equity, human dignity, as well as social and international peace. When there is excessive, once again, there's that word excessive. Nobody is saying that there aren't rich people, middle class people, poor people, and at some level, at the proper balance of that, that's okay. But once again, excessive disparity where you have people throwing money away and people starving in the gutter, that is eventually going to impact everything, including international peace, because people at the bottom can only stay there for so long without uprising, as has been proven many times in history. The Church, beginning with Jesus Christ, has always believed in a preferential option for the poor. Read your Gospels. Jesus is saying, the poor you will always have with you. You will be judged on, I was hungry and you gave me to eat, I was thirsty and you gave me to drink, and so on and so forth. It is a principle of Christian morality that all people should be able to participate in the economic life of their country. Whenever any social policy is being decided, the poor must be given special consideration. No policy which helps the rich more than it does the poor is acceptable. The Church proclaims that the state has an obligation to protect the poor against exploitation. The Church has the right and the obligation to legislate adequate wages, working hours and conditions, and the right to express their personality in the workplace. In other words, you don't have to suppress the fact that you are Christian or Muslim or Jewish. That's just part of your religious liberty, because religion is not only where do you go to worship, it's how do you live your life, sometimes how do you dress, and so forth. So reasonable accommodation to all of these things need to be given, and it is appropriate for civil laws to be made regarding them. We are one human family. We have national, racial, economic, ethnic, and ideological differences. But in spite of these, we are all human. And we manifest what we call solidarity by equal distribution of goods, fair remuneration for work, and also don't forget about the spiritual goods of your faith, which are even more important than material ones. You don't have to do this by preaching on the street corners, but you do this by, by living a Christian life and by talking about your faith and what it means to you when it's appropriate, when the situation arises, when somebody asks you. You're not trying to force anybody to your ideology, but you are witnessing to Christ in the world simply by doing that. Loving our neighbor has global dimensions since our world is interdependent. Rich and poor, workers and employers, nations and peoples. All of these relationships are part of the goal of human solidarity. Solidarity is an eminently Christian virtue. The idea of it is meant to stimulate actions that defend the weak and disadvantaged, and it gives urgency to the elimination of sinful inequalities. Equality doesn't mean we're all the same. Equality doesn't mean we all live in the same kind of house. It does mean we all have the ability to live in dignity, in clean and safe environments, and pursue our lives, both spiritual and economic, in the way that we choose. We sometimes hear about structures of sin which, they can occur when an entire society acts in such a way that, for example, the rich are rich and the poor are poor, and the rich don't care about the poor. They just go about their way. Well, all of these things come from individual sins. You might say society can't sin. Well, in a sense, society can. Individual sins give rise to social situations and institutions that are contrary to divine goodness. Structures of sin are the expression and effect of personal sin. Societies that do not support their weakest members, whether they be weak because they are economically disadvantaged or ill or old or handicapped in some way, the way individual people treat those individual people becomes a societal thing. And societies that do not support these people lead the victims in their turn to become evil, to perhaps take place in inappropriate violence and so on and so forth. Sin leads to sin, no matter how you look at it. And there are many instances of oppressed people, once they are liberated or liberate themselves through revolution, doing things just as bad as the people that oppressed them, because now they're on top. This is an ongoing thing that feeds on itself, and it's something that needs to be stopped.